So after 10 races in 4 different countries, including some of the most famous circuits in the world, the 2017 Formula Renault Northern European Cup is set for an action-packed finale here at Hockenheim. There are 4 drivers still in mathematical contention for the championship, but realistically that's down to 2. Michael Benyai and Gilles Magnus. There's only 1 championship to share between them, and there's 25 minutes around this 2.8 mile 16 turn circuit in which to decide it. On pole position, once again, we have Yi Yifei, Joseph Kaufmann Racing locking out the front row. Can he take a double victory after that dominant performance this morning? Managed to take advantage of teammate Sasha Fenestraz dueling with Richard Verschoor for second to break away, establish that lead and take his first victory in the championship. He'll be hoping to double up, but make no mistake about it, Fenestraz is not leading the Formula Renault Euro Cup for no reason. He wants wins. 5-minute board shown at the front, which means the safety car will go away on its final reconnaissance lap, and when it is back we have 15 cars ready to race here at Hockenheim. Originally scheduled to be a 25-minute race distance, I would suspect with the noise curfew due for 6 o'clock here at Hockenheim that is probably going to be reduced, but we will wait and see what the officials decide as the teams and engineers go through their final preparations down there on the grid. So as mentioned, it's a 2.8 mile circuit Hockenheim, 16 corners, some incredibly fast sections like the Parabolica, very technical sections such as the heavy braking zone into the hairpin, and the stadium section around Mercedes through the final sector of the lap. And if that incredibly tight, fast right-hander at turn 1 wasn't difficult enough as it is, oil spilt during the last race here at Hockenheim by a different series means that whilst it's been attended to by the officials, that could make things even more tricky for the drivers as they hurtle towards turn 1, vying for those all-important points in this championship battle. So they're on pole position, number 41 for Joseph Kaufmann Racing, Yifei Yi. Excellent performance this morning. He'll be looking to repeat that. Looks very calm and composed underneath that helmet, but I'm sure he'll already be calculating exactly what he needs to do to stay ahead of this man. Number 11, Sasha Fenestraz, his teammate alongside him on the front row. Fenestraz says the two need to race with their head, but if there's an opportunity to pass, he will go for it. Make no mistake about that. He's not a regular race winner for nothing. In third position, we have Jarno Opmeer, ran as high as 4th in that opening race before he dropped back towards the end. He'll be looking to see if he can take another podium in the championship, but backed by the Renault Sport Academy, just underlining how much the Formula Renault Northern European Cup promotes bringing junior single-seater racers through from the lower categories up into professional motorsport, and we even have some graduates in Formula 1. P4 on the grid, Gabriel Aubry with that trademark gesture to the cameras as he gets ready for Tech 1 racing. He challenged for the podium earlier today in race 1 with Richard Verschoor. The two made contact at one point at Mercedes. He was forced to back out of it and finish 6th, but he will be gunning for a podium. Then it is Richard Verschoor in 5th. The Red Bull back driver was very boisterous, managed to get past Fenestraz off the line in the opening race. We'll see if he can make the same kind of ground up in the second one. Then comes the first of the championship contenders, although slightly further back, Bartek Marecki. He has had his fair share of problems this year, but consistency has been his ally, and he arrives at this final race with a slim chance of winning the championship if the others hit problems up ahead. Then we have one of our British F4 guests, number 81, Oscar Piastri. He's been a championship contender in the UK category this year, looking to move up into European single-seater racing next year. This the perfect stage for him to try and learn his craft in those expertly engineered 2-litre engined Tatus chassis cars. Michael Benyai, the championship leader, he leads by 1 point at the moment, and the aim for him is crucial. He has to finish in front of teammate Gilles Magnus if he is going to win that championship. And then alongside him, we have a returnee to the championship after competing last season, Alex Vartanyan for Arden Motorsport. He ran a little further ahead in the first race. He'll be hoping for repeat performance and see if he can get some more strong points on his return to the championship. He is sharing row 5 with one of the revelations of the weekend, debutant Logan Sargent, championship contender in British F4, topped his first practice session of the weekend actually, shown in some incredibly good pace as he looks to contest the Formula Renault Euro Cup next year. And alongside him, another driver from the UK, British F3 and F4 driver James Pull. He's competed in both categories in the past, yet again underlining how much this series can do for young drivers wishing to move ahead in motorsport. The grid rounded out by number 2, Theo Quacco, number 6, Thomas Neubauer, number 4, Gilles Magnus, who was the championship leader until earlier today. He's 1 point behind Benyai, and for him the equation is simple: finish ahead or lose the championship. And Charles Milesi, race winner at Spa for the first time in the category, rounds out the grid. So the instruction received to clear the grid of all personnel. That means we are moments away from our green flag formation lap here at Hockenheim. 11 minutes till the curfew, so I would suggest we are probably going to get about 4 or 5 laps into this race. But that's better than nothing, and especially in the context of a championship decider, we need everything we can get. 30-second board shown, which means any minute now Yifai is going to lead Sasha Fenestraz and the others away onto their green flag lap. One last opportunity to get heat into the brakes and the tyres. It's getting quite cold this evening here in Germany. Every degree counts. So away they go on their formation lap. I'm going to run through that grid one more time for you, and then we'll talk a little bit about the championship as the cars work their way down. Kicking up a lot of dust through turn 1 actually as they go over the cement dust mix, I think it is, that they lay down to deal with oil from the previous race. So the grid, pole position, Yifai Yi, alongside him Joseph Kaufmann Racing teammate Sasha Fenestraz. Then Jarno Ottmeier and Gabriel Aubry on row 2. Row 3, Richard Verschoor and Bartek Marecki, the first of the championship contenders. Then Oscar Piastri and Michael Benyaya, championship leader in 8th. Next, the returning Alex Vartanyan and Logan Sargent. James Pull and Theo Quacco are row 6. Then Thomas Neubauer and Gilles Magnus, who has an awful lot of ground to make up if he is going to take that championship title in about 10 minutes' time. Charles Malaysia rounds out the grid. So in terms of the championship, well, consistency throughout the season has been Michael Benyaya's ally. He has 151 points after 10 races. So with one more contest to go, can he see out the threat from Gilles Magnus and take a championship crown? Magnus, has mentioned, 1 point behind. He's been the leader for the last few rounds. Took a double win at Spa, especially after recovering from a heavy crash at Eau Rouge. So he will be hoping that he can see it through, make up some ground, and take that Formula Renault North European Cup championship at the end of the race. Bartek Marecki further back on 136. Theo Quacco could still, in theory, mathematically win the championship, but he is 29.5 points behind. He is going to need absolutely everybody to fail to finish in front of him, and he'd have to win the race from 12th on the grid. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying it's reasonably unlikely. So I think we can safely assume that it's a two-way championship battle, and there's a little threat further behind if things should go wrong. So Yifai worked his way now out of turns 13 and 14 up to the Sud curve turn number 16. Final opportunity to just warm those brakes and tyres. That's what the engineers will be telling them. Just get the car up to temperature, get it sorted and get ready. We've got 8 minutes left until the curfew here at Hockenheim. They work their way out of the final corner now. Obviously the trick for Yifai is he doesn't want to get to his slot too early, because the longer he sat there, the colder the brakes and the tyres will get. Fenestraz alongside, he'll be there, well, not by much, but marginally later. That might give him a little advantage off the start going into turn 1, and that's what Yifai does not want. He wants to make a great start, get a little bit of space between him and his teammate as he did this morning, and then see it through. So the front 3 rows slot into position. We're just waiting for the last few at the back, and then we will be ready to get around 7 minutes of racing underway here at Hockenheim to conclude the 2017 Formula Renault Northern European Cup season. Charles Malaysia works his way down to his grid slot. And we're getting ready to race. Lights on when they are out. Now we will be racing. Fenestraz and Yifai make pretty level starts as they head down to turn 1. Is Fenestraz going to look up the inside? He's not. Aubry fending off Ottmeier. He takes third up through turn 1. Any contact they all get through, but there's dust up everywhere, and Bartek Marecki is forced to defend on the inside heading up towards turn 2. Fenestraz looking to the outside as they go through the second corner. Can Yifai fend him off? He said after the first race he wished he'd had some battles with his teammate. Well, he's getting them. And now Ottmeier's looking to try and challenge Fenestraz for second in these early stages. Can he manage it? Aubry defending fourth from... No, Verschoor, sorry, defending fourth from Aubry as they run through the Parabolica and down towards the heavy braking at turn number 6. Fenestraz goes to the outside line. Yifai spotted him. He holds the inside as they go into the heavy braking zone. Will Fenestraz be able to get the cut back under acceleration? He doesn't, but that has allowed Ottmeier alongside. Can he get him? No, not quite. He slots in behind. He's going to try and slipstream him heading up to turn 8 in front of that big Mercedes grandstand, one of the most iconic bits here at Hockenheim. Fenestraz has a little look, ducks to the outside. Yifai sees him and fends him off. Ottmeier does likewise for Verschoor, but is Verschoor going to carry more speed? No, he's not. He just runs out of room, and that allows Aubry up alongside on the outside. Nearly make contact. Aubry has to go a little bit further wide, but Piastri makes it through and up into P5, and now Bartek's trying to pass Aubrey on the inside coming into the stadium section. Did they touch? I don't think so, but it looks as though Aubrey's held that position, so that suggests Marecki just thought better of his move on reflection and decided to settle for 6th place on the road. Yifai works his way out of the last 2 corners now. Fenestraz is right with him. There's absolutely nothing to choose between the 2 leaders here. Otmir defending 3rd from Verschoor for all he is worth. They come across the line to complete the first lap now, and it's a 0.4 second gap between the leaders. Fastest lap of the race so far from Vartanyan, who's up to P5. My mistake, I thought it was Piastri. Excellent start, but it's Fenestraz in the slipstream now, going to pass Yifai. He looks to the inside, he looks to the out, ducking one way and the next. Little lock-up from Yifai under the brakes. But despite ducking one way and the next, Fenestraz cannot find a way through. He tries to get him now on the slipstream, down through turn 5, the Parabolica. Otmir still holding 3rd from Verschoor. And Fenestraz is already pulling up alongside Yifai to the inside. The Chinese 17-year-old sees it, tries to cover it, but he has to allow Fenestraz alongside. Will the Franco-Argentine be able to go all the way around the outside at the hairpin? Will Verschoor be able to do the same and take 3rd, I wonder? Oh, it's incredibly tight round that hairpin, but I think Otmir has managed to defend 3rd from Verschoor. I thought there was going to be contact for a moment, but all the drivers safely through. Vartanyan still 5th ahead of Aubrey, and then Marecki, James Poole, Oscar Piastri in 9th, and Logan Sargent rounding up the top 10 on his debut weekend in the championship. Action-packed start to this race. It's a shame there's only going to be about 4 minutes of it left to go as we approach the deadline here at Hockenheim, but the race still continues. In terms of the championship, Michael Benyaya has dropped to 11th, but crucially, Gilles Magnus is 14th, and I think, as it stands, that would be enough to secure the Moroccan the championship. Yifai works his way now into turn 12. He's pulled a little bit more on Fenestraz this lap, if my eyes don't deceive me, which I don't think they do. And Otmir is just starting to bring the others with him. In fact, you could say Yifai for the lead, Fenestraz second, and then roughly the next 5 cars are all disputing 3rd in some form or another. Over the line they come now to put the 2nd lap into the books. 0.7, so Yifai has extended the lead by 3/10 over Fenestraz. He's definitely gunning to end the year on a high and take that 2nd win of the weekend and the 2nd win of his career in the NEC. Verschoor's dropped slightly back from Otmir in the battle for 3rd. It looks as though the Dutch driver has just got that one under control. And into pit lane we have a car, I believe. That is the number 43 of Logan Sargent, which is incredibly disappointing for him. He was running in 10th. Good points there to be had. Sargent finished P4 in the opening race earlier today. An excellent debut from him. Topped the first practice session yesterday. He's certainly shown an aptitude for racing at a slightly higher level. And hopefully he will join the Euro Cup next season and we can see what he is capable of. Aubrey up the inside of Vartanyan at the hairpin at turn 6. I believe that is for 5th place. He takes it away, the French driver. Could have run in the podium positions earlier. Aubrey had an excellent battle with Verschoor, but eventually just got muscled out and had to settle. Vartanyan looks to the outside through Mercedes, turn number 8. Can he get it done there? He can't. Aubrey holds on, but that allows him to draw alongside on the exit of turn 10. Can he make the move there? It looks like he has. He's gone right round the outside, and in turn that has allowed Marecki to catch them up. Will Marecki make the move stick at this corner? 2nd time round, he dives at the inside. He just pulls out of it. Coming through the corner, Fenestraz has managed to close the gap slightly at the front, so we may be seeing a change for the lead in just a moment. So let's run through the order with about 2 minutes left on the clock. It is Yifai leading from Sasha Fenestraz, Jarno Otmir in 3rd ahead of Richard Verschoor, and then in 5th position we have Alex Vartanyan, and then Gabriel Aubrey, Bartek Marecki rounding out the top 7. We have a replay here at the hairpin. Very bold move from Gabriel Aubrey, just passing to the inside. Excellent move. It's very bold driver, Aubrey. He's not afraid to make a bold move. I remember he went around the outside of Fenestraz for the lead at Les Combes at Spa a few weeks ago to take the lead. He went on to win that race, so he's definitely not afraid to throw his nose up the inside and see if he can get an advantage. Cars work their way now down towards the hairpin for the 4th time. Yifei's got a 6/10 of a second lead. Fenestraz set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:39.455 on that last tour of this 2.8 mile Hockenheim circuit. Otmir still holding off Verschoor for 3rd. And then it's Vartanyan, Aubrey, Marecki, Poole, Piastri and Benyaya up to 10th, obviously with the demise of Logan Sargent. Magnus is in 12th, and he's about 2 seconds the best part of behind Benyaya. He needs to pass him for that championship, but we've got less than a minute on the clock. I would suggest they're probably going to get the last lap board this time around, it may be just too little too late for the Belgian. So Yifei works his way now into turn 12 once again. Fenestraz a little bit closer. It seems that Upmere has the battle for third relatively comfortable. He's managed to establish a little bit of a gap over Verschoor, but the Red Bull-backed MP Motorsport driver will be trying for all he can to get that third place, that final spot on the podium away for him for the second time this weekend. Yifei comes over the line. 4 laps in the book, 0.6 of a second split him and Fenestraz. Fenestraz set another fastest lap of the race, although the difference between him and Yifei's lap times is virtually null and void. The two Joseph Kaufmann cars, well, Yifei said after the first race to me earlier today that he thought Fenestraz had the pace to match him. It was disappointing he couldn't show it and they couldn't have some battles, and off the basis of this timing screen he is absolutely correct. The two leaders lapping thousandths of a second apart. Excellent performance from the two Joseph Kaufmann cars, excellent team. They always set their cars up well. They've run many good champions in the past, as do the rest of the teams in the Formula Renault Northern European Cup. We've got some really good names here. Tech 1, RACE GP, Anders Motorsport looking to come in next year permanently, Arden, MP Motorsport, BM Racing Team, an excellent array, all highly skilled and all committed to just moving those junior single-seater drivers up to the next level and seeing if they can realise their ambitions of going on to Formula 1 in some cases. We've had graduates, Valtteri Bottas, Sainz, and some of them like Gabriel Aubry just hoping to get a shot at Le Mans or going into sports cars in the future. So there's a real array of ambition here and a fantastic display of talent. Verschoor now coming under a little bit of pressure for P4 from Vartanyan. Looks as though the Russian is looking to get into that top 4 for the first time this weekend on his return to the championship. He follows him now through into turn 12. Fenestraz and Yifei holding station up the front. I'll run you through the order. It is Yifei, Fenestraz, Upmere, Verschoor, Vartanyan in 5th ahead of Aubry, Marecki, Pull, Piastri and Ben Yaya around out the top 10. So it is still looking good for Ben Yaya for that championship. We've ticked over the 6 o'clock curfew, so I'm not sure if the race is going to continue much longer or not, but we are going to keep going for the time being. And Yifei and Fenestraz actually on that last lap setting identical lap times to the thousandth of a second, a 1:38.695 apiece. Well, that's just proved his theory right. They are lapping at roughly the same pace, exactly the same pace, although the gap between them is still 0.6 of a second. So Fenestraz not quite close enough to try and make a move just yet. Otmir seems to have gotten a little ahead for third place. He is now around about 0.6 of a second ahead of Verschoor, which means Verschoor will not be able to get the slipstream through the parabolica and down towards the old hairpin. Vartanyan, though, is having a look. He fancies taking that 4th place away from him. Ducks to the outside. We've got Aubry locking a tyre up behind. He's fallen just slightly back from that group. He'll be hoping to try and get on terms with them in the last couple of laps. Vartanyan now having a look at Verschoor as they run through the fast right-hander at turn 7. Down on the brakes for turn 8. He goes to the outside line. Well, Verschoor's got that covered, so he ducks back and tries to go through the exit of turn 9 and 10 side by side. Verschoor gives him just enough room as they come through turn 10, but he holds on to 4th place for now. Vartanyan in 5th. He's going one way then the other, trying to find a way past the MP Motorsport car, but there's nothing doing at the moment. Verschoor hangs on by the skin of his teeth to that 4th place. Meanwhile, Gilles Magnus still stuck down in 12th position, not able to get past Michael Ben Yaya. They're being split by Thomas Neubauer for Tech 1, and that could have a crucial impact on this championship's final standings. They're all looking to follow in the footsteps of some incredibly talented single-seater racers to have gone through this championship over the years. Mercedes and Williams Formula 1 driver Valtteri Bottas was the 2008 champion. Other Formula 1 drivers, Kvyat, Carlos Sainz Jr., they've all come through the ranks, as have Formula E stalwarts Sebastian Buemi, Robin Frains and Antonio Felix da Costa. So really, they're an established company and they'll be hoping to emulate those achievements over the coming years. But for now, all they've got to do is focus on finishing this final race of the season at Hockenheim. Yifei has gone the fastest lap of the race back. It's a 1:38.436, 0.2 faster than Fenestraz. He is responding to the threat from his teammate, and I would suggest that neither of those drivers is going to do anything silly in the closing stages. Both of them keen just to bring home another fantastic 1-2 for Joseph Kaufmann Racing. Magnus has gotten into 11th position. He is 1 place behind the number 3 car of Michael Ben Yaya, which means there's only 1 car standing between him and the Formula Renault Northern European Cup title. Magnus would win it on countback by results. We've got a broken front wing for Gabriel Aubry. That's going sideways as they come through, I believe, turn 8. So clearly he's had a bit of contact somewhere, but the Tech 1 car is looking a little skewed, the number 14 at the front. He may need to pit for repairs. There's nobody out in the pit lane at the moment, so it might be okay to continue. Currently running 6th, Gabriel Aubry. I would suggest he doesn't want to throw away a healthy helping of points. He will try and soldier on for however long we have left here at Hockenheim. The clock says 13 minutes. The curfew has passed, so I'm going to assume we'll run to race distance, in which case we are roughly halfway. The battle for the lead has started to cool down a bit, but the battle for the championship is only just hotting up as Magnus and Ben Yair are nearly together on circuit. So the cars working their way across the line for the 7th time, and the order is as follows. Yifei leading ahead of Fenestraz, Opmeer in 3rd ahead of Verschoor, Vartanyan rounds out the top 5, Marecki, excellent performance in 6th. He's doing everything he can to keep his championship hopes alive, but I think he's going to just fall short. Pull in 7th ahead of Piastri, both coming over from the UK for this weekend. And then Ben Yair in 10th. Aubry is in 9th, but I suspect he's in the pit lane, Gabriel Aubry, so he is going to drop further down the order. That promotes Ben Yair and Magnus. Neubauer behind them, ahead of Charles Mallacy and Theo Quacco. Logan Sargent bringing up the rear of the field after that earlier pit stop. Disappointing for him. Great pace shown this weekend. Aubry's having a front wing changed, and this will feel like an absolute eternity for the French driver as he just sits there watching the engineers and mechanic go to work on the front of his 2-litre engined Tatus chassis car, and he will just want to be on his way as soon as possible and see if he can start closing that gap. But I believe he's going to come out dead last, and he's going to have a lot of ground to make up. So Yifei 2/10 faster on that last lap still. He has now extended that gap out to 1.032 seconds. And I don't want to say he has it in the bag, because nothing is certain in motorsport, especially not in single-seaters, but he is certainly en route. Comes over the line once again. Fenestraz giving him chase, but not quite able to get close enough to make a move on the 17-year-old. He will do all he can to try and get in that slipstream through the parabolica. The old hairpin, not the old hairpin, the hairpin, I would suggest, is his best overtaking place. But it is not going to be easy. As shown in the opening laps, Yifei putting up a stern defence in holding that lead. Vartanyan has made his way up into 4th position. He's managed to get past Verschoor, the Russian going very strongly. Can he try and take that final podium position? That would be an excellent way to mark your return to the championship and just announce yourself once again. Excellent driver Alex Vartanyan. He'll be hoping he can get past Jarno Opmeer in the closing stages. 10 minutes and 55 seconds left to go on the clock here at Hockenheim. So as Yifei works his way through the tight left-hander at Mercedes, I will run you through the order once again. Yifei leading ahead of Sasha Fenestraz. Their gap is just over a second. Opmeer in 3rd ahead of Vartanyan and Verschoor. Marecki 6th ahead of Pull and Piastri. Ben Yair 9th and Magnus in 10th. The two are separated by 9/10 of a second. That's how close Magnus is to taking that championship title away. 9/10 of a second from the crown. But he's not able to get there yet. Ben Yair looks as though he is on course. Interestingly enough, Ben Yair having a test with the Venturi Formula E team in Valencia earlier this week, where he is their development driver. Yet another example of teams from higher categories being able to come to the Formula Renault Northern European Cup in search of the next big talent to help move them and their ambitions on further. So behind that squabbling duo is Thomas Neubauer for Tech 1 and Charles Mallacy. Theo Quacco, well, he had a mathematical chance of winning the championship, but given he's in 13th and the leader is some 20 or so seconds up the road, I would suggest that he's probably not going to get the maximum score he needs. He would also need his rivals to not score, and even though they're pretty close together on track at the moment, they are all running, so it looks as though he is going to drop out. Logan Sargent and Gabriel Aubry round out the field. Some excellent fights going down in the midfield. This is Ben Yair he's the number 3 car, the middle of that 5-car sandwich. He's just trying to see if he can get past Piastri and put one more car between himself and Magnus. That's all he needs to do, is finish ahead of Magnus, and the championship crown should be his. They head down towards the old hairpin. Can he get him on the brakes? He can't, but he closes right up. There may as well be one big Formula Renault car at the moment, and they are also in turn giving chase to James Poole. It's really all go in the lower reaches of the top 10. Bartek Marecki at the head of this field. He's just dropped back slightly. Remember, he was pressuring Verschoor, Aubry, Vartanyan and co earlier in the race. Ben locks up a little bit at turn 8. Is that going to give Magnus a chance to slipstream him through turn 10 and down the run to turn 11? I would suggest he's going to get a lot closer to him, but neither of them will want to do anything silly. Magnus follows him through turn 11, the Mobile 1 curve, and down towards turn 12. Can he try and close up under braking? He can, but now they will accelerate uphill slightly through turns 13 and 14 and down towards the end of the lap. And we'll try and get the slipstream down the main straight into that incredibly fast turn 1, which the leaders are going through now. Magnus, a little slide through that last corner. They come onto the main straight. Ben has a little breathing room. The trouble for Magnus here is he doesn't want to give Neubauer any opportunity to get alongside him and get past. That is a disaster. He needs to finish ahead of Ben But Ben at the moment doing a fantastic job of keeping that 9th position, and that is all he needs to be crowned champion in a little under 8 minutes time. So the car's working their way now down through turn 5 Parabolica and then into the hairpin heavy braking zone. I would suggest if we're going to see any big overtaking moves, that is probably where it's going to be happening. Charles Malaysia is showing up as having set a best sector of the session in sector 1, 21.144, down in 12th place. So he's obviously decided now is the time to get a move on. There is Marecki at the head of this 5-car train. It's going to rapidly expand if they fight much longer. Magnus right on the back of Ben as they work their way up towards the fast right-hander at turn 7. And here we have Piastri just looking and seeing if he can get up the inside of Paul. Paul locks up going through Mercedes. Is that going to allow Piastri an opportunity to pass? They run together through turn 10. It's an incredibly short straight before you get to turn 11, but if you can get this last sector of the lap just right, you have an excellent chance to slipstream down the main straight. Meanwhile, Vartanyan has really closed up on Upmere for 3rd, and they're also bringing Verschoor with him, so we could have a 3-car battle for the final place on the rostrum yet again here at Hockenheim. Yifei heads over the line. Fenestraz behind. That gap is still coming out. 1.179 seconds. Looks as though Yifei has everything he needs in hand just to keep Fenestraz, the Formula Renault Eurocup leader, at bay. Ben and Magnus come across the line now. I would suggest that Ben has got maybe 4 or 5 car lengths in hand over his teammate, but he can't make any mistakes, any bad exits, any late breaks. If he locks a wheel, the Belgian will be right with him, and suddenly that championship is going to start unraveling. Ben just needs to keep it calm, and on the circuit, he's an incredibly consistent driver. He's consistently scored points in every round of the championship, if my memory serves me correctly, and he's done an excellent job, and it would be a championship well deserved if he can hold on to this 9th place, but Magnus is not going to let him have it easy. We have a move on the brakes, up the inside. Vartanyan trying to get 3rd away from Otmir. He goes to the inside. Otmir has to run out wide across the curbing. Is that going to allow Verschoor alongside? Little correction from Otmir as he comes back onto the circuit. Can he slipstream and get the place back from Vartanyan at turn 8? He's going to give it a go. He looks to the outside. Is he going to go up the inside? Thinks better of it. He's going to try and get the undercut on the Russian coming through turn 10. Cannot manage it. Vartanyan has enough to stay in front. He takes that final spot on the podium away. Of course, the danger for the two now is that should they start squabbling, Richard Verschoor is well placed. He has the car and he has the pace to convert it into a 3rd place finish. He will be waiting, choosing his moment, spotting where they're weakest, and seeing if he can try and draw up and get on terms with them before the end of the race and take that final podium spot for the 2nd time this weekend. Leaders coming over the line. We wait to see if the gap has come down at all. It hasn't, in fact. Fenestraz has dropped back another 3 tenths. Yifei really doing everything he needs to make it 2 out of 2 here in Germany. And as they come across the line now, Vartanyan in 3rd ahead of Otmir and Verschoor. 2 tenths separating Otmir and Verschoor. He's going to try and slipstream him down through turn 1 and see if he can get the place away into turn. He can get the place away from him into turn 2. He goes to the outside line under braking, the Red Bull driver. And he's now going to try the undercut. It's not going to work, but this will give him an excellent run through turn 5 and down towards the hairpin. I would suggest that bar some excellent defending from Otmir. We're about to see a change for 4th position as Verschoor gets up to the inside line for the hairpin. And surely now it is just a case, a formality of outbraking Otmir and taking 4th position away, but relatively often are things that simple in racing. Apologies. Verschoor takes the position away into the hairpin. Marecki still running in 6th behind this group. They've all managed to catch up, and now Otmir running out alongside Verschoor through turn 7. Is he going to get the place back? I think so, but Verschoor has the inside line for the next corner. Is he going to just try and gently ease Otmir out of road? He's not. Gives him racing room. as you would expect, excellent respect from the two drivers, and Otmir gets the position back into turn 10. He stays fourth, but Verschoor will not take this lying down. He goes through turn 11, right on the tail of the Dutchman, and the two compatriots will duel now down into turn 12. Nothing happening under the braking zone, but they will get the slipstream down that main straight, and that could be where we see a change for position. Fastest lap of the race for Yifei, 1:38.403. He's lighting up the timing screens purple. He's definitely not resting on his laurels at the front of the field, and with 3 minutes to go, he looks well on course for a second victory of the weekend. But what we are concerned about is that championship battle, and at the moment Ben Yaya is still ahead of Magnus. He's managed to pull about 5 car lengths out over the Belgian, and he will be hoping he can hold that to the end of the race and register that maiden championship crown in the Formula Renault Northern European Cup. He's got about 2 minutes and 45 seconds to hold on, and he will be the series winner. Marecki's done everything he can in this race to try and score as many points as possible, but I don't think it's quite going to be enough. So we see Yifei, number 41, turning up through turn 7 and down towards Mercedes. And Sascha Fenestraz is a couple of seconds behind him, as Yifei would like. Incredibly racy driver is Fenestraz, not afraid to make an aggressive move, not afraid to set fastest laps, not afraid to take risks and put the car out on the edge. He is definitely a formidable opponent, so full credit to Yifei for holding him off in these 2 races today, assuming he sees out the last 2 minutes in the lead and takes that checkered flag for the second time this weekend in the lead. So Ben Yaya and Magnus, 9th and 10th. I'll just run you through the order quickly. So Yifei leading ahead of Fenestraz and Vartanyan. Otmir in 4th ahead of Verschoor and Marecki. Then we have James Pull and Oscar Piastri, both coming over from the UK this weekend. Ben Yaya and Magnus round out the top 10. That is the battle to watch at the moment, but there's 1.4 seconds between them. It's starting to get a little more desperate for Magnus as the time ticks away. We will see if he can make a move in these closing stages and secure the championship, or is it going to be delight for Ben Yaya? The Moroccan, well supported in his home country, this will be big news. He's an absolute star in the making on their motorsport scene, and they are all right behind him, willing him through these last few laps. I would suggest we're going to get 2 more laps here around Hockenheim, and then that will be the end of another fantastic season in the Formula Renault North European Cup. So we see Yifei turn through the hairpin ahead of Sascha Fenestraz, relatively untroubled throughout this race. Had some early defending to do, but since then he's just been calm and composed, edged his way ahead from the Franco-Argentine, and he now has a lead he looks unlikely to lose barring any mistakes. Just clips the apex of turn 7 as he goes through into the braking zone for Mercedes. Not a single lock-up, perfectly executed. He now runs out through the exit of turn 9 and turn 10. And if I'm not mistaken, he's just managed to put a couple more car lengths between himself and Fenestraz. Their gap is 2.115 seconds. And then there's a whole another 10 seconds before you get back to Alex Vartanyan in 3rd. The Russian still ahead of Jarno Otmir and Richard Verschoor. Marecki then heading up that group with Pull, Piastri, Ben Yaya, Magnus and Neubauer, Malaysi, Quacco and Sargent. The RHGP trio are then running 12th, 13th and 14th. And number 14, Gabriel Aubry, after that nose cone change, is at the back. So 11 seconds left on the clock. They're not shown the last lap board this time around, so they will get 2 more laps, I believe. Vartanyan currently in 3rd, ahead of Jarno Otmir. Verschoor in 5th. Can he try and get the position away? They're running close together as they come out the final corner and down that main straight. About 4 car lengths between them. He's not quite close enough to slipstream him now, but he will try and get it through turn 2. Ben Yaya and Magnus, meanwhile, the gap down to 0.6 of a second on this final few tours of the circuit. Magnus will be doing everything he can to try and steal that championship crown at the last, but I would suggest that teammate Ben Yaya is not going to be receptive to that and will do everything he can to keep the crown within his clutches. Yifei turns his way through the hairpin once again, Fenestraz in tow. Disappointing races for Sargent and Aubry. They'll be gutted. They had some great pace this weekend, fantastic additions to the grid, and as always we wish them the best for the end of this season and for next. We hope to see Sargent move up to the Euro Cup, an excellent pathway that is being set up here between the NEC and the Euro Cup. Drivers able to come and do this championship for a season, either alongside or before the Euro Cup, and then they're familiar with the car and the format, and that gives them the best possible opportunity for success when they do decide to eventually move up. Fastest lap of the fastest lap of the race again for Yifei on that last lap, 1:38.381. Very calm and composed at the front as he works his way now through the last few corners and heads up towards the final turn. He will come down the start-finish straight. The checkered flag is being readied, and Yifei is going to be a double winner in the Formula Renault Northern European Cup at Hockenheim. He crosses the line. Joseph Kaufmann Racing complete another 1-2 with Sasha Fenestraz in second. They will be absolutely delighted. Now we look at the battle for the championship. Ben Yaya is still ahead of Magnus as they come through the last few corners. And as they come through turn 16, it will be Vartanyan in third, Otmir fourth, Verschoor fifth, Marecki will come sixth. Then, if I'm not mistaken, Paul Piastri, but Michael Ben Yaya is the 2017 Formula Renault Northern European Cup champion. Richly deserved. He finishes 1 place and 0.6 of a second ahead of Gilles Magnus in 10th. Neubauer takes 11th, Malaysi 12th, Quacko 13th, and Sargent and Aubrey will come through in their own time to complete the 15-car field. An excellent result for Ben Yaya then. He is the champion after 11 rounds and over 200 minutes of racing. It all comes down to that final lap of the season then. Sargent will come home in 14th. He crosses the line now. Excellent weekend for him in terms of learning about the car, the systems, how it all works. And that 4th place in race 1, definitely an indication of the pace to come from the youngster. So there is Yifei taking it all in, the number 41 car. 2 victories out of 2. He took both pole positions. Unless he topped practice as well, which unfortunately he didn't, it would have been the perfect weekend. But in terms of competition, he has been right on it. 2 poles, 2 wins. You can't really say fairer than that. Even Sasha Fenestraz has said he's been doing an amazing job this weekend. He just can't seem to get quite close enough. The 2 working well together in qualifying. Actually, they were studying each other's lines, trying to see if they could learn anything from one another. Excellent teamwork at Joseph Kaufmann Racing, just exemplified by this. A brace of 1-2 finishes in both races here in Germany, their home country. Vartanyan third, an excellent result on the Russians' one-off appearance in the series this weekend. We will look with great interest to see what lies ahead for him in 2018 and beyond. Otmir had a very, very feisty race, but eventually has to settle for 4th. But given that he started in 3rd on the grid, that is not a bad return with some drivers like Verschoor, Marecki, Vartanyan, all of those alongside you. You can't be too unhappy with that. Fenestraz pulls then into 2nd place in Parc Fermé. Vartanyan pulls in on the opposite side, and we will wait for Yifei to come now down the pit lane, take his place in the middle. Fenestraz, out the car he gets, puts the steering wheel back, as is regulation nowadays, goes over to greet the team. Verschoor just pulling into the pit lane behind them in Parc Fermé. And any minute now, we will see Yifei. Ben Yaya in the pit lane with Magnus just behind. I wonder if he knows yet that he is the 2017 Formula Renault Northern European Cup champion. I'm sure it'll take a couple of days to sink in, but it's an accolade richly deserved, and we will see with great interest what he goes on to in the future, especially hoping to pursue that route into Formula E or maybe into other forms of single-seater and professional motorsport. So there we see the number 30 car of Jarno Otmir just being wheeled back further along the pit lane to the engineers and the scrutineers we have here at the championship. And an excellent race for him, very feisty. And Yifei is, if I'm not mistaken, just being held up a little bit at the end of the pit lane as they get the cars organised, but soon he will be able to pull into that number 1 spot. They'll go up to the podium, and the Chinese driver will be handed his 2nd winner's trophy of the weekend. And a well-deserved one too. There is Ben Yaya. He greets his family and his friends at RHGP and his engineers. He is the champion. They know it. Malaysi, teammate, comes right over to congratulate him. And after a very consistent, very strong season, it is Michael Ben Yaya who ends up on top. Very richly deserved, and this will be excellent news and big news down in Morocco. Series manager Jürgen Evers just there to congratulate him, as are his father and everybody else who works with him at the team. Well, they didn't end up having quite the battle royale we thought they might on circuit, but he still did incredibly well to hold off Magnus right until the end. Finished 9th and 10th, eventually did the pairing. And they've been very, very respectful of one another in this championship battle, it must be said. Takes off the fireproof. I think he might just be checking, have I definitely won it? Seems to be enough. There it is, the smile. He knows he is the champion. Michael Ben Yai just going through his post-race celebrations, and I am sure his comments will be well documented in the days to come, and maybe in the years to come, as he looks back at where this maybe was the start of an excellent journey towards a career in single-seater racing, as have many before him, about the Formula Renault Northern European Cup. Goes down the pit lane to his RHGP team. We're still waiting for Yifai to pull into that middle spot in Parc Fermé. I'm not sure whether they've stopped the car further back and he is already out. We will wait and see. But the podium ceremony coming up very shortly here at Hockenheim. It's the end of the day, it's the end of the season. Another fantastic year for the Formula Renault Northern European Cup. 2018 promises to be better than ever. Can't wait to see what the entry list is like. Some exciting news going around the paddock. It might be an absolutely classic year. We will wait and watch with great interest. But for now, Michael Ben Yai is the story, and he is the 2017 champion. So that race, in the end, just a simple case for Yifai of making another break from his teammate Fenestraz, breaking away into the lead, establishing the gap, and after that he just had to nurture the car home. Don't make any mistakes, hit all your apexes, don't overwork the brakes or the tyres, just keep on going. And he has, and he is the winner for the second time in succession. And after a couple of podiums at Nürburgring, including a third place from 7th on the grid, he fought back through that race. He said at the time he wished maybe there'd been a couple more laps, he could have had a chance to challenge for the lead. Well, now he's proved that he has race-winning pace in the championship, and he has fulfilled that promise this weekend. He will take a maximum of 60 points away from the weekend. Teammate Fenestraz, well, he will take away 48. You can't say fairer than that. It's still an excellent haul of points for Joseph Kaufmann Racing, and the very experienced team are showing their class once again. So as the course vehicles make their way in on the end of another great day of racing here at Hockenheim, we await the podium, which will be coming up very shortly. In fact, is taking place right now. I can see Yifai taking to the top step, Fenestraz and Vertanyen alongside him. The trophies will be presented, an excellent occasion for everybody. And soon the celebrations will begin, not just there, but down at RHGP, where Michael Ben Yai has been crowned the champion. The number 3 car successfully fending off teammate Gilles Magnus right to the checkered flag to take that first championship crown. So there we have our podium winners celebrating on the rostrum here at Hockenheim. Series manager Jürgen Evers watches on, a smile on his face, an excellent championship finale, an excellent final 2 rounds here at Hockenheim. And eventually the races were allowed to go the distance by the curfew here at the German circuit. Excellent news. That's about all from the Formula Renault Northern European Cup for this season, but we will see you again next year. 2018 promises to be bigger and better than ever, but for now, Michael Ben Yai is the championship winner, and we will leave you from some of the best highlights of the race.